How would your life change if you were a better communicator? For many of us, myself included, I think it could be significantly better. And that is why I have a special guest with me today. We're going to do the first of a 3-part series on how to be an impactful communicator. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. I am really excited to have with me today Leeza Steindorf from Core Success. Can't wait to dig into this. Leeza, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Tim.
Yes, absolutely. So before we start talking about impactful communication, I want to ask you a few just rapid fire questions, help us get to know you a little bit. You ready to jump in the water here?
I am, I think.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, don't know. It's not like you need to be super brave to jump into this water.
Okay.
So when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
So I love paddleboarding. I live in the Pacific Northwest,
awesome.
So I love paddleboarding. I am very connected to a native walk, and so I do spend time in the forest with either a drum or a native flute. Yeah, and I do woodwork.
Okay.
I enjoy carving.
I love it. So paddleboarding, my family got into paddleboarding last summer. We are totally hooked.
Right.
So do you use an inflatable? Do you have a hard board?
I actually have a hard board, and there was a company here that let us try out different boards before we purchased one, and that you didn't have to purchase from them, but I ended up doing that. And so I ended up getting a really long one, 12 foot 6 inches, which is like,
oh
my
wow,
gosh.
yeah.
It's narrow and it's for touring. And the reason I like it, it's like running on the water. You can go super fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a really fast board.
It's not quite, it's more unstable because it's narrower, but boy, is it fun.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. What's your hidden talent?
My hidden talent? Oh, goodness gracious. I think that I can, this is going to sound kind of strange, but that I can sometimes read people. Like if they are having a situation, they'll come to me and it's just like, oh, I'm really frustrated. I can like very quickly be able to say, oh, it feels like this is what's going on for you. They're like, how did you know that? What? And so that seems helpful to people. And I can't tell you how it works.
Well, that's a fantastic talent to have. So
yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's an easy one. And that is that people are always doing their best given current understanding and abilities. So no matter what it looks like that people are doing, to really know that if they could be doing it, in my opinion, better or different, they would be, but that's the best they've got at that point in time. Really useful.
That is a fantastic mindset to have. It would seem to me that if you think that way, it softens otherwise very difficult things that might come up.
Excellent insight. That's exactly right. It really does.
Yeah. That's an awesome point. What's one thing about you that surprises people?
That I have worked in and traveled to 38 countries.
That's awesome. What does success mean to you?
Success is who we are. It's not something we achieve. When we are aware of and are living from the highest and truest part of ourselves, we are success, and we then express that in the world and support others to do the same.
Where's your happy place?
On the Lewis River, south of Mount St. Helens. Just a beautiful, peaceful place with towering pines and eagles and osprey in a tent. Actually, anywhere in a tent is my favorite place.
Okay. What qualities do you value in the people you spend time with?
Authenticity, commitment to connection, and again, living from that place within themselves that's connected to spirit and to one another. Like really having that at the forefront and not as just words that they use once or twice a week.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit more about what you're doing. How are you helping businesses, with your company Core Success? What's that look like?
So it's actually kind of an outgrowth of what I've just shared in those questions, is that I have the opportunity to help individuals and then teams, groups become really clear about who they are and what gifts, what goodness they already possess without having to get somewhere. In business, there's in leadership and in consulting, there's always this idea that we have to get somewhere else than where we are right now. Like, this isn't good enough. How can we change it, improve it, grow it, whatever. And to help people understand that where you are and who you are right now is so amazing and so rich. And when you start there, now, how do we offer from this place, this richness? How do we offer that into the world in an impactful way, in a useful way, in a really high level way? And then with skills of strategic planning, I do that less so anymore because it's more linear. What I really enjoy is leadership coaching, team trainings, and also as a mediator, doing crisis transformation. So going into corporations and also small businesses or nonprofits that are struggling, if they are having downsizing, or they have litigation before they get to that point, or even while they're in the middle of a hot situation, to going and helping them understand themselves, each other, and literally that transforms the situation and resolves it, and they end up at a better place afterwards than beforehand. And I also work with women. I have a program, Leadership for Women, which is really powerful.
And with the leadership work that you do, I'm assuming that all of that is very communication based. You're helping them be better communicators, which is then in turn helping them be better leaders. Do I have that right? Or are you doing more than that?
Well, actually, I'm going to start before that.
Okay.
Right? So before you can even be a communicator, it's really knowing who you are and how you are in a situation. And from that place, and we're going to get into that.
Yes.
From that place, it's a natural progression to communicate well. When you have that clarity, then all you need are a few skills in order to express that. What happens is most people aren't even aware of how they feel, where they are within themselves, and that gets really complicated. If we look outside the world, we'll see how complicated it can get.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's dig into how to be an impactful communicator. First thing that comes to mind is, man, there are a lot of conversations that go south really quickly. Why does this happen?
Well, I think it's, again, we're just following a thread here. So when you are in a conversation, let's say there are three people in a conversation, the perception of each person is that there's only one conversation taking place. There's actually three. And when you're aware of that there are three conversations, then what you're going to do is orient first within yourself to understand what's your conversation. And when you're aware that there are three, then you're going to have curiosity of, okay, I know what mine is. What's theirs? What's his? What's hers? And then having curiosity. Then you have a clear lay of the land. What happens most of the time is, if there are three people in a conversation, people are thinking there's only one conversation. And so they're speaking from their perspective, expecting that's exactly how the other person is seeing it. And when it doesn't match up, then friction starts. It's like, what do you mean by that? How can you see it that way? What are you talking about? Because their perspective feels like such a given for them, and it feels like it's an absolute ultimate reality, where in truth, it's actually one facet of that experience that the three are having.
So when we see it only as one conversation, we're kind of communicating our viewpoints and our reality, expecting that that's everybody else's?
That's correct. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with expressing your reality and your experience. It goes south when you are wondering, why are they not doing that? And if they're not seeing it that way, then we make them wrong. And
yes,
that's really the genesis of almost every conflict I've ever experienced and mediated and helped.
Yeah. So we're not coming at the conversation from a place of curiosity and openness.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not intentionally. It's not like we're going in there like a bulldog. It's like the fish with water, right? You say, how's the water? Well, what water?
Right.
What are you talking about? You have to take them out and say, this water. Oh, so it's the same thing in conversation, to say to somebody, this is your experience. Yes, it's my experience. all right, let's listen to this other person's experience. And then they listen, they're like, wow, that never occurred to me. So
Yeah.
it's just not in their awareness that there's another perspective of that experience.
Got it. So let's talk about these steps to impactful communication. You've got this framework that you use. Can you walk us through the 4 steps that we need to be aware of to be an impactful communicator?
I can, and I also would like to just make short mention, because I honor all teachers and students, that this work came originally from Carl Rogers, Dr. Carl Rogers, who is called the father of humanistic psychology. He called it I statements. And from there, his student, Marshall Rosenberg, transformed it into nonviolent communication. And that may be what it's known in the world. But I worked with Carl Rogers' daughter for 7 years and assisted her in trainings in Europe. And so this really was the foundation of my work. And the framework behind that, and I bring that up, is because in humanistic psychology and person-centered therapy, it's understanding another person from their frame of reference. That alone is powerful and healing for people who especially have gone through trauma. So these statements come with that backdrop. But first, speaking about yourself. So the first step is you can flip these back and forth, but I like to do facts first. So a fact is something that's measurable. It's something we can all agree upon, and it's not subject to interpretation, if you will. We're using temperature, height, sound, whatever it is, to say, the door is closed or it's open, the light is on or it's off, or it's 22 degrees, not 23 degrees. So facts are things that we can agree upon. They can be correct or incorrect. Then we have our feelings, our experience. That's step number 2. It's like, how do I feel about the door being open? Right? Well, when you walked out of the room and you closed the door, I felt sad. Right? I have an experience of that fact. That experience is always valid. It doesn't matter what it is, your experience is valid, and so is the next person and the next person's. So then I'm aware of, okay, this is how I feel. I felt sad. Well, why? What is important to me about either you walking out or the door closing? Because when we have a conversation, even if it gets difficult, I want us to stay connected. It's important to me that we have a relationship. And when you walk out, I feel sad because I feel like that relationship is threatened or it's over. And then the 4th step is a request. And a request is not a demand. It's really a request that you can say no. It's simply a wish of mine. And that is, the next time that you feel like walking out the door or you get frustrated, that you tell me that. So we can figure something else out. Tell me, we can talk in 15 minutes or tomorrow, or start another conversation or something, so that you don't walk out the door. And that's my request to you, is that you tell me that you feel like walking out the door.
Okay.
So those are the 4 steps, and literally almost any situation can be broken down that way.
Okay, so facts, measurable, something we can all agree on. Everybody that's in the conversation can agree on. Feelings, which is how we're each feeling about the experience or this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's feelings are always valid.
Mm-hmm.
The 3rd step, help me with that one again. So the 3rd step is
because I feel this way, because, and that because is really what's motivating me. Why am I even talking about the door being closed or you walking out? Because I care about you. I care about our relationship.
Got it.
I want us to stay connected. So it's my motivation. It's what is important to me.
Okay. Why you feel that way, or your motivation. And then the last step is the request.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, going back to facts, you said it's something we can all agree upon. If you've ever been in a court of law, you will find out that people have very different perceptions of the facts.
Yes.
So when we share, if we had a video camera, we could probably all agree upon that, although even that is questionable. It's the sharing of how we have experienced the facts. The useful thing about that, though, is that I'm not saying you slammed that door, right? I can't say whether you slammed it, but what I could observe was you got up and left the room and closed the door.
Yeah.
Most likely, or the door is closed. Most likely, we could agree on that.
Yes.
Right? But the how you did it or the why you did it, I don't know that. So I'm speaking from what I observed with my senses.
Yeah. So you're just trying to find some initial common ground in the conversation.
And neutral
Neutral.
ground. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I think that's a key distinction there, is that it's neutral.
Yes, and on that point, I'd like to share foundation of my work is non-judgment, and I've shared with you the Genius of Non-Judgment training, which is free for anybody who wants to watch and participate in it. And that's the basis of it, is to separate out what are the facts and what is my experience of the facts. So the facts can be correct or incorrect. My experience is always valid. And where conversations go south and where conflict arises is when I tell you that your experience is wrong and mine is right. So we're using a measurement for experience that only really is permissible, if you will, for facts. Facts can be correct or incorrect, but feelings can't be wrong. I can't tell you that you're wrong, that you're cold in a room that when it's 73 degrees, it's warm. You shouldn't feel cold.
Yeah.
How can I tell you that? I
Yeah.
may feel hot when it's 73 degrees. Those experiences are always valid. And so to not judge someone's experience, including our own, is the foundation really of being impactful and also, understanding and really human.
Isn't understanding somebody else's experience also kind of opening that door or that window to kind of see why they're feeling the way that they are?
It is, absolutely. And why people don't do that, Tim, is because they're afraid if I open that window, if I start understanding you, I'm going to get lost. And so the sequence, if you will, that's really useful is first understanding where you stand. Because if you know where you stand, how you feel, what's going on for you personally, you can orient in that. Then you have like an anchor, like you're standing, here I am. And from that safe space, then you have the ability, you can pivot from there and say, oh, so this is how you're feeling. Oh, so this is how you're feeling. But you're not leaving your orientation. You don't have to understand another person.
Got it. I love it. So what you just said kind of, I think, leads into our next question, which is, to be an impactful communicator, we need to first really understand ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Can you unpack this concept a little bit for us?
Sure. Well, let's go back to the example I used about you leaving the room, Tim.
Yes. Yeah, me slamming the door, right?
Exactly. So let's say what a typical scenario would be: some conversation happens, you get up, you walk out of the room, close the door, and let's say you're angry, you're frustrated, whatever it is, and you slam the door, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what a jerk. I can't believe he just did that. We're in the middle of a conversation, right? So my orientation now is on you, what you've done. All right. And then that's where it kind of then goes up, because you in yourself, you had a reason for getting up and leaving the room. So you've got your inner experience going on. If I start with myself and I say, okay, so that's what he did. That's a fact. The door is closed. It's a stimulus. It's a trigger for me. What is my experience of that? Well, actually, I'm kind of sad because I thought we were friends and I was right in the middle of a conversation expressing myself. I have no clue why he just got up and left, but I'm sad that he did. And also totally confused because I don't know what just happened. So now I have my experience of it. And then I can ask myself, well, what do I want? Well, actually, I'd like him to come back in so we can finish this conversation, or I'd like to at least understand what just happened. So now I'm with me. I don't need to accuse you. I don't need to yell at you. I don't need to make you wrong. I get to just say, this is what's going on for me. And what has happened to most of us, especially in the Western world, and I frame it that way because the indigenous cultures operate very, very differently. But in the Western mindset, from really small children on, we are taught to not know how we feel, to not be aware of our experience. We are told how to feel. We are told what to do. We are told how it is. And so from very early on, we are trained away from the experience of ourselves and our environment, and the experience of ourselves as nature, as part of everything. And we are schooled into this has nothing to do with me. The world is happening out there, and then we orient only to out there and not into ourselves as part of the situation.
So what we're really doing when we understand ourselves, if I understand this correctly, is we're first getting a baseline of how we're viewing this particular situation, right? What was this experience? What was my experience of what just happened? And what do I now want as a result of that?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So if we can ask ourselves those two questions when any type of, conflict or situation comes up, we're now understanding ourselves, and now we're armed to take the next step in what actually needs to happen to at least attempt to get some resolution.
Absolutely. And I really love that you brought it down to those, because when my children were younger, I actually wrote down on a card when they were in elementary school, or I had them write down in exactly that. How do I feel? What do I want? And that's a really simple way for them to be able to orient, because when people are yelling or accusing or jumping or screaming or whatever is happening out there, and even in the media or wherever we are, it catches our attention like a sparkly thing in the sunshine. It's like, oh, and we're always out there.
Yeah.
And so if we ask ourselves those questions, like, how am I in this situation? How am I feeling? What's going on for me? And what do I want here? I've been told by certain people that's selfish. That is so useful to be self-oriented, because then am I in a place to say, and how do you feel?
Right.
What's going on for you and for you and for you? Now we can work together. But if I don't start here, if I don't understand myself, I promise you, I don't care how you feel. It's just because there's just so much going on out there. There's no relationship between you and me.
Yeah.
If I start here, then I can connect to you from a deeper place in myself, and not just from a cognitive concept.
Yeah. It's my guess is when you've asked yourself these questions, how do I feel? What do I want? You're not going to be so reactive in the conversation.
You'll be responsive.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You'll be responsive because you're staying connected to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not just so somebody says something else, and then it's like, well, now I'm confused when you say that you were frustrated because I don't know what happened. Now I can go to curiosity. What did I say or what happened that frustrated you so much?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm staying connected to myself, but also to you.
Yeah.
Well, you said you didn't want to, meet up for dinner when we agreed upon it. Oh, that's how he's seeing that.
Right.
What I said, well, let me explain that. What I meant was, I can't do it now. I didn't mean I never wanted to meet. I just meant right now, the plans that we've made don't work for me. So, we had then now it's like, and then you can say, oh, I didn't hear it that way. Now we're in a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting to a resolution.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes not. I don't want to give the impression that there's always resolution.
Yes.
However, even if there's not resolution, it's not going to be as contextual. It's not going to be as heated, at least not for yourself.
Right.
If not, my experience has been, it is usually also less so for the other.
I guess it kind of goes back to, that saying, we agree to disagree, right?
Yeah, exactly. But to do it from a place not of aggression, but, oh, okay, that's how it is. Well, now I have more clarity, at least, where you stand and where I do.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not always all going to be on the same page.
Right.
But at least if we have some understanding of where the others are coming from.
Well, and that's not just a side effect, that's mandatory.
Yeah.
Because if you look, especially in our social political culture right now,
yeah,
if there were more understanding for people's positions, I guarantee you, we would be walking through these circumstances that we have today much more smoothly, and in my opinion, a lot more effectively.
Yeah.
Because right now there's no understanding, and there's barely understanding for ourselves, which is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. There's very few people with what we're dealing with. It's we all feel the way we feel. And I think a lot of us are having a very difficult time seeing how other people can feel the way they feel.
Exactly right. It's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to continue to dig into this in our next conversation, because next time we're gonna dig deeper into examples. If people are watching, listening to this live, send me or Leeza directly. I don't care, or post in the comments. Hey, do you have a situation that you want us to actually break down? Because we're going to role play. Leeza, you're probably going to put me on the spot a little bit. That's a-okay. I'm totally cool being a guinea pig here. So if you do have specific situations that have come up for you, whether it's, personally or professionally, let us know, and we'll do our best to role play some of these in part 2 of this to help you get super comfortable with this framework. Because we've broken it down a little bit, but I think when we actually apply it to real world scenarios, it's going to become much more clear and easier for you to start implementing and using. So Leeza, do you have any last minute thoughts you want to touch on before we end things today?
What I would encourage people to do, and hopefully they will tune in again, is to, in whatever situation, even if it's watching the news or going to the movies or listening to a conversation, is to just start listening for the facts and for how people feel. Just having a hearing for those two different things without doing anything else. Just that distinguishing of just those two aspects is a really useful practice.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Leeza, thank you so much for taking the time today. If people want to learn more as we go through these, where's the best place for them to go?
So my website, leezesteindorf.com, or the yourcoresuccess.teachable.com has a number of my trainings, including the free training of the Genius of Non-Judgment.
Awesome. So leezesteindorf.com, or you guys can go to get some free training and workshop resources, yourcoresuccess.teachable.com. These links will be up in our future conversations. We'll make sure that they're in the show notes, because if you take the time, it's obvious Leeza knows what she's talking about, and we're just going to keep digging into this so that you can start using this. I think we can all benefit from this personally and professionally. So thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Again, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. Pop back for episode and part number 2 next week. And if you are struggling with your marketing, if you are hitting roadblocks, you're trying different things, nothing seems to work, you're not sure what the next right step is to help you get your business to the next level, hop on over to our website, rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. Click on the Get a Free Consult button. Happy to chat with you and give you some clarity on what that next right step needs to be. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care.